Let's be honest, everything's a scam in 2025, except gold. Stocks, manipulated by algorithms that don't even know what a human life costs. Crypto, controlled by 10 guys with Discord servers and emotional damage. Real estate, a playground for central banks to pretend the economy is fine while your rent doubles every 3 years. But gold? Gold just sits there, shiny, silent, judgmental. Like your Asian mum watching you buy NFTs at 3 a.m. See, gold doesn't lie. It doesn't promise innovation. It doesn't post motivational quotes on LinkedIn, and it doesn't need a bailout every time the Fed sneezes. Gold doesn't dip. It waits. It watches humanity panic, print money, crash markets, start wars, and still says, I'll be here when you're done. And in 2025, we finally reached that stage again, the part of the economic cycle where everyone who called gold boring starts Googling how to buy a bar. Meanwhile, governments are busy gaslighting their citizens, telling them inflation is under control while your grocery bill looks like a luxury shopping list. The Fed blames temporary shocks, Japan blames foreign speculation, and the average millennial blames astrology. But here's the secret no financial guru on YouTube wants to tell you. In a world where every market is rigged, gold is the only one that doesn't need to cheat, because it's already won. So today, let's talk about why gold is the only honest market left in 2025, and why every time someone calls it outdated, that's financial code for I missed the train. Stay till the end, because the real scam isn't crypto or stocks. It's how governments convinced you that gold was the old man's game. Remember when markets were supposed to represent value? Now they represent vibes. The stock market isn't a marketplace anymore. It's a mood ring for the Federal Reserve. One rate cut, and suddenly everyone's a bullish visionary. One inflation print, and the same people are crying on X, formerly known as Twitter, now just a therapy group for broke traders. Trust used to be the invisible currency of capitalism. Today, it's leverage. If you sound confident enough on CNBC, people believe you, even if your portfolio is one bad meme away from liquidation. Let's take crypto, the ultimate trust experiment that ended with everyone trusting nobody. Every token promised decentralization, but somehow all the money centralized in the Bahamas. Even the phrase trustless system was prophetic. It taught us not to trust anyone who says trustless. Real estate? Don't even start. Your mortgage broker now has a TikTok account explaining why paying double your rent is building wealth. Meanwhile, the same banks that collapsed in 2008 are back, this time with better PowerPoint slides and worse ethics. Bonds? Japan's been printing them like flyers for a missing cat. America calls it quantitative easing. Europe calls it stability. I call it monetary cosplay. The truth is, every modern market is a stage play, performed for short-term dopamine. Investors don't buy value anymore, they buy attention, which is why gold stands out. It doesn't perform, it doesn't trend, it just exists. When everything else becomes a circus, the clown that doesn't dance becomes the philosopher. And that's what gold is in 2025, the philosopher of markets, quietly judging while everyone else screams, to the moon. You know who the real influencers of 2025 are? Not YouTubers, not TikTokers. It's the central bankers, the original masters of emotional manipulation. They don't sell lip gloss, they sell confidence. They don't post selfies, they post interest rate decisions. And they don't use filters, because inflation already distorts reality better than any app could. Every time Jerome Powell smiles, 1,000 hedge funds either live or die. Every time the Bank of Japan blinks, the yen drops faster than your crypto wallet after a rug pull. These are the influencers that don't need sponsorship deals. They move trillions just by saying, we're closely monitoring the situation. Remember when inflation was supposed to be temporary? That was 2 years ago. Now it's like that one ex who swore they'd just stay for a week. Governments keep telling citizens it's under control. Translation: we lost control, but please don't panic until after the election. In 2025, inflation therapy has become a global religion. The Fed preaches patience, Japan preaches denial, Europe preaches austerity, and the people, they just pray their grocery cart doesn't exceed their rent. Meanwhile, gold doesn't need sermons, it doesn't need approval ratings, it just reflects the truth, silently. Because unlike the central banks, gold doesn't print itself into existence when it feels insecure. And here's the punchline. Central banks still buy gold. The same institutions telling you it's obsolete are hoarding it like preppers hoard canned beans. They know what's coming, they just don't want you to. Gold isn't old-fashioned, it's simply not for the emotionally unstable. When every central banker acts like a life coach with a money printer, the one asset that doesn't need validation suddenly feels refreshing. Ah, crypto, the faith that promised salvation through code, a borderless Eden where everyone could be rich, anonymous, and morally superior. Fast forward to 2025, and the blockchain looks less like heaven and more like a group therapy session for burned investors. Remember when decentralization meant freedom? Now it means no one's responsible when your exchange disappears overnight. Remember when diamond hands meant conviction? Now it means you're just too embarrassed to sell. Crypto was supposed to end corruption. Instead, it reinvented it, but with better marketing and Discord moderators. It created priests, influencers, scriptures, white papers, and saints, guys who bought in 2011. Everyone preached, trust the protocol, until they realized humans still write the code. By 2025, the crypto world split into two species, the evangelists still waiting for mass adoption, and the survivors quietly converting back into gold, like ex-vegans returning to bacon. Because here's the paradox. Gold doesn't need Wi-Fi. It doesn't crash during maintenance. And no one can rug pull your bullion unless they literally bring a shovel. Digital assets promise transparency, yet somehow we ended up with invisible money, invisible accountability, and very visible yachts. Meanwhile, a single ounce of gold still holds more integrity than the entire NFT market ever did. Gold doesn't tweet. It doesn't promise next-gen staking yields. It just sits there, reminding the digital dreamers, you built your entire revolution on electricity. I've survived since the pharaohs. That's the difference between digital lies and physical truth. Gold doesn't evolve because it doesn't need to. And in a world obsessed with updates, the one asset that doesn't upgrade outlasts. So when someone says gold is outdated, just smile. Because trends expire every 6 months, but honesty, apparently, needs no blockchain. Let's play a game. You give me a piece of paper and I give you confidence. That's modern finance in one sentence. Fiat money, humanity's longest-running magic show. Except now the rabbit's dead, the hat's empty, and the magician keeps asking for another stimulus package. Once upon a time, paper money was backed by gold. Then governments decided, you know what? Let's just back it with belief. Congratulations, the global economy became a cult with better branding. Today, we don't print value. We print permission to pretend. You think your $100 bill has power? It's literally a government-issued trust me, bro. And in 2025, even that illusion is wearing thin. America's debt is so large it could qualify as a small planet. Japan's been running the world's biggest monetary karaoke, singing the same fiscal song since the 1990s. And Europe? Well, they're still debating whether austerity counts as personality. Every time the system breaks, we just add more zeros. It's like treating obesity with another donut. Debt isn't a problem anymore, it's a lifestyle. But here's what gold does differently. It doesn't beg for belief. It doesn't need your approval, your central bank, or your national anthem. Its value isn't decided by a committee. It's decided by time. Gold is the anti-influencer. It doesn't trend, it endures. While fiat currency needs press conferences and bailouts, gold just needs existence. And here's the irony that every economist secretly knows. Fiat money always returns to its intrinsic value, zero. Gold, it always returns to its rightful place, the anchor. Because when the paper burns, the metal remains. And that's not philosophy, that's physics. So when they say cash is king, just remember, every king in history eventually lost his head. Gold, still shining on the throne. Here's the fun part. The same central banks that told you gold was outdated are now quietly buying it by the ton. It's like a nutritionist lecturing you about sugar while secretly drinking cola in the parking lot. Let's be real, governments lie all the time. But when their balance sheets start looking like Jenga towers, even they remember what's real. In 2025, global gold purchases by central banks hit records not seen since the Cold War. China, India, Turkey, Russia, all stacking gold like it's the new Bitcoin. Even Japan, the Zen master of debt, is diversifying quietly, pretending it's for diversification. Translation, we don't trust the dollar either. Why? Because everyone knows the music's about to stop. And when it does, they want to make sure they're holding metal, not musical chairs. Central banks talk a lot about confidence, but their actions scream insurance. Gold is the only asset they can't sanction, freeze, or delete. It's the original offline mode for money. And notice how they never announce their gold buying beforehand. They buy first, lecture later. Meanwhile, the public gets distracted with AI stocks, crypto comebacks, and the next green transition ETF. This is the quiet rebellion of 2025. The elites are exiting the paper world, silently, strategically, and smugly, while the average investor is still chasing the next meme coin called Inu 2.0. You won't see this on Bloomberg because the last thing the system wants is for retail investors to buy something they can't print. Gold is too honest, too finite, too uncontrollable. And that's the secret. When the smartest liars start hoarding truth, you should probably pay attention. So the next time a finance professor calls gold barbaric, remember, barbarism built civilizations, fiat built recessions. Every few centuries, reality gets tired of being ignored. And when that happens, it doesn't whisper, it crashes markets. We live in a world that's allergic to limits. Debt has no ceiling, optimism has no expiry date, and politicians have no shame, but physics still applies. You can't print oil, you can't stimulate food, you can't quantitatively ease trust. And that's where gold walks back onto the stage, not with fireworks, but with the slow authority of something that's seen civilizations come and go. Empires fall for the same reason currencies do: arrogance. They all believe they've outsmarted the past. Rome debased its coins, France inflated its assignats. America, it turned the dollar into a brand. And like all brands, it eventually loses authenticity. The irony is almost poetic. The very technology that made money digital also made truth optional. But nature doesn't accept digital signatures. When panic hits, people still want something they can hold, not just scroll. By 2025, we're witnessing the revenge of the tangible. The gold market isn't booming because people suddenly love shiny things. It's booming because people are tired of being lied to. For a decade, we traded belief for convenience. Now we're realizing convenience comes with fine print and compound interest. Gold doesn't promise yield, it promises reality. It doesn't make you rich overnight, it prevents you from being poor forever. So, yes, gold is boring, but in an age of economic ADHD, maybe that's exactly what honesty sounds like. The end of the paper era won't look like an apocalypse, it'll look like silence. Screens go dark, markets pause, and somewhere a vault door closes, softly, permanently. That's not fear, that's balance being restored. So here we are in 2025, a world where truth is a conspiracy and honesty has to be mined. We built economies on faith, influences on hype, and careers on PowerPoint decks. But when the Wi Fi cuts out, the algorithm stops caring, and the charts start crying. Only one thing still tells the truth: a lump of gold. Not because it's magical, not because it's rare, but because it refuses to lie, even when everyone else does. It doesn't care about your pronouns, your politics, or your portfolio. It doesn't ask for trust. It just exists. And maybe that's why so many people can't handle it. Because gold exposes what we've become: a civilization terrified of permanence. We want returns without risk, growth without sacrifice, wealth without work. So we create digital illusions, call them assets, currencies, or community tokens. But in the end, they're just stories written by people who can't accept gravity. Gold doesn't rise. It just waits for everything else to fall. So maybe, just maybe, the reason gold is the only honest market left is because it doesn't need us to believe in it. And that's the real punchline. After all the hype cycles, the FTXs, the 2E policies, and the motivational TED Talks, the most valuable thing in the world is still a rock you can't print. Beat pause. Camera fades into gold bars under dim light. So here's my challenge to you. If you had to choose between digital dreams and physical truth, which one would you trust when the lights go out? Tell me below, because the next financial collapse won't need an internet connection.